I want to start this video off with a little story. My friend and I had been talking online for a few days now about how the thing was overpriced and that we wouldn't buy the uninspired re-release after already owning the game on Wii U. Of course, flash forward to the release day and we both run into each other at EB Games, each holding a copy of Mario in our hands. Now we're obviously a couple of easily manipulated sheep, but the thing is, when it comes to video games, I will buy just about anything with the label Mario on it. Mario has been such an integral part of my gaming experience that when I see a trailer for, let's say, the new Mario Golf game, it's just a given in my mind that I'll buy it. This is likely because I've had so many positive experiences with Mario games. These are some of my favorite games of all time, so of course I'll be wanting to play more. And you know what happened when I played New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe? I actually had a good time. I don't really think the game is that great, but I had a lot of fun, and that has to be thanks to my previous experiences and the way they helped me perceive it. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the mindset of players and how that can drastically change one's experience. So this Mario mystery is a light example of behavioral psychology. This branch of psychology focuses on how we learn and how that influences our behavior. Though it isn't necessarily as simple as this, I was conditioned to associate positive experiences with Mario in the past, and now voluntarily choose to buy Mario games more frequently. This kind of thing would fall under operant conditioning, which strengthens voluntary response through rewards and punishments. In this case, the positive experiences with Mario is the reward, and the learned voluntary response is me going out to buy more Mario stuff. This is all pretty simple to understand, but what about games that don't have the luxury of a foundation of classics like Mario? Well, to answer that, let's go back to 2017 and take a look at Wonder Boy: The Dragon's Trap. This is a remake of a 1989 game, Wonder Boy 3: The Dragon's Trap. First thing of note is the wise decision to drop the 3 in the title. Even though there is essentially no connection between this title and the previous games, players will be wary of picking up a sequel, and rightly so. Sequels are often based around the idea of building off the first game's mechanics, as well as expanding the story and world. Sequels are a good way to guarantee approval with the audience of the first game. However, unlike movies, games can't simply be bought, rented, or streamed. Lots of original installments and big franchises are locked behind old consoles, so players can't simply go back and play the old games to prepare for the new one. This is especially the case with classic game series like Nintendo's IPs, which is why they usually opt for a soft reboot with every new entry. Take the Legend of Zelda series for instance. There's a complex and strange timeline if you care about that kind of thing, but all the big hits are separated by long periods of time, i.e. A Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and Skyward Sword. A game Nintendo is easily able to re-release now thanks to that structure. I talked a little more about good sequel structure in this video, link will be on screen right now. But we're getting sidetracked though, so back to Wonder Boy. The biggest change and the coolest feature about this game is the completely redone graphics. What's interesting about this thing is that in some ways it isn't even a remake, as the new art is essentially just laid on top of the old game's code. You're able to switch between the old style and the new style with the press of a button, which is pretty impressive. So the gameplay is fundamentally unchanged, and yet, I just know I would have never played the original if given the chance. I find myself looking over the more questionable design decisions because the moment-to-moment gameplay is rewarding to watch just thanks to these new visuals. Seriously, just look at the animation on these guys and all the background layers and details. The visual style made me anticipate a fresh and modern experience, and though the game is definitely not that, it's certainly easy to forget. I had a lot of fun with this game, and it makes me wonder what else I'm missing out on thanks to surrounding stigma. Of course, going in with high expectations doesn't always work. Take for instance Cuphead, a game that had many people hyped thanks to its distinct old cartoon style. When people finally bought the game, many were disappointed by how unfair or brutally difficult these bosses are. Of course, we could talk about Cuphead bosses all day. Many people have, but the point is that many people associated that cartoonish style with a game that wouldn't be as punishing as what Cuphead ended up being. I'm not really talking about games meeting a player's personal expectations though, I'm more talking about having an open mind. The difference is that someone who has expectations wants one particular thing, and someone who has an open mind is excited for whatever an experience has to offer. It's a tricky thing to try and capture a player's attention in the modern day, and that's something I could really make a whole separate video on. Before we close out this video, I wanted to talk about an example of a game I played where I didn't really have an open mind, and another game where I did. Let's talk about Super Metroid. I did a tier list ranking all Nintendo franchises a while ago, and the main thing people were disappointed by is to see how low I rated the 2D Metroid series. As someone who is a big Metroidvania fan, you might think that Super Metroid would be an easy slam dunk for me, but I just didn't click with it that well. I think this is because I had such high expectations after playing modern games like Hollow Knight, and it isn't Super Metroid's fault that it can't match the scope of a game that was released 20 years later. I started to lose patience with the game, and the minor things started to bother me more. This is the exact opposite of what happened with Wonder Boy. I think if I gave this game another shot, I'd like it a little more. Now a game I definitely had an open mind playing was Castlevania Symphony of the Night, Super Metroid's sister game. I just started playing this game after rewatching the Castlevania Netflix series, and rather than having expectations for a game based on that storytelling, I just wanted more adventures with Alucard, whatever that entailed. I've been having a really good time with it, and I'm super glad I had that positive mindset going in. It's so easy to just play the same kinds of games you've played before over and over, but branching out to a genre you may not like could end up being really fun. So enjoy games you enjoy now, and maybe try new things too. Whatever the case, try to have an open mind.